So welcome everybody to the Culminating Experience presentation for the 2020 continuing class. And today we start the day with Chilean student Juan Jaramillo, and I would like to briefly read a little bit about his bio. Juan Pablo Jaramillo is a Chilean drummer, composer, and educator who is mainly known for his work in the jazz scene and has recorded 15 albums as a sideman. He has performed with international figures like Arturo Sandoval, Cal Winter, and Christian Galvez. Juan Pablo is currently working on his original project, mixing Chilean traditional music and jazz. And as a matter of fact, the presentation today name is Rediscovering Chilean Culture, a musical journey through Chilean history. I would like to welcome his panelist, Leo Blanco, and his advisor, Bruno Robert. We are with you. And please, Juan, when you're ready, you can start.
Okay, thank you, Marco. Hello, everyone. Welcome. As Marco said, my name is Juan Pablo Jaramillo, and today I would like to present to you my combination experience project called Rediscovering Chilean Culture, a musical journey through Chilean history. The idea of my project started with a deep questioning of my roots as a Chilean musician. My country has suffered cultural breaks that make our history very confusing to study. This is an attempt to have a more objective idea of this. I focused in two styles that now exist in Chile, Cueca and Tumbe. I did a research that helped me understand the technical aspects of this music and their historical background. These two styles have in common an African root. This heritage has been severely wiped out in Chile because of the whitening process that our culture suffered. My historical research helped me understand how this whitening process happened and how it affected Chilean culture. An important aspect of my project is the compositional process. I composed two cuecas that are written in a traditional form, considering the music and the lyrics. The goal of this was to understand in a deeper way how Cueca works, so I would be able to use these elements in a more conscious way. I wanted to use the elements that I recollected in this historical and musical research and apply them in my music. Cueca. Cueca is a big part of my research. The origins of Cueca are not well defined, but what most historians agree is that there is mainly an Arabic, Spanish, and African influence. All these influences were melted together in Valparaíso, the city port you can see in the map. This was a very cosmopolitan place because it was one of the main ports in Latin America. I would like to show you an example. This song is called Están tomando mis amigos, which translates to something like My friends are getting drunk, played by one of the most iconic cueca bands of the 60s called Los Chileneros. So the African element in Cueca is very complex to track down. It is proven that there were African slaves that influenced this music, but it's hard to define how. There are two main theories. According to Carlos Vega, Argentinian historian, it is probable that the use of the miola, meaning 3 beats against 2, in the Cueca comes from the Sama Cueca in Peru, which has a West African root. And according to Benjamin Vicuña Maquena, the African influence that we find in Cueca comes directly from the floating population of black slaves that came to Valparaíso. African musical aspects in Cueca are very dissolved of how the viceroyalty of Peru dealt with the African slaves in the south. Mainly in Peru, Chile, and Argentina, it was far more severe than the rest of the viceroyalties in terms of censoring African expression. Cueca has a rhythm that is extremely complex. Even though I haven't been able to track the direct African origins, the complexity and the rhythm The complexity in the rhythm and the way these rhythms are layered, in my opinion, goes beyond the influence from the Sama Cueca, Arabic or Spanish music, as indicated in Carlos Vega's famous theory. The rhythm in Cueca is more complex and mysterious, still not yet to be explained. Also, I made a video I would like to show you that explains a little bit about how this group works. In Cueca, the rhythm foundation is laid down by the pandero. All the instruments should be playing around the subdivision that this provides. You probably noticed that what is written is similar to what I'm playing, but it's not the same. That is because there is a very special subdivision that happens in Cueca. This is how 8 notes would sound. You can hear how the second and third beat are stretched. The same happens with the 5th and 6th. We refer to this as achiquillado, something like a Chilean swing. On the other hand, the lyrics have a very specific way of being written. The amount of phrases and the syllables in each phrase are fixed, and this is because of how the music relates to the dance. I would like to present my first piece, which I wrote respecting all these traditional aspects of Cueca in a pursuit for understanding the style in a deeper way. The main traditional ingredient here is the syncopated rhythm in the percussion and the guitar. This piece is called La Caida.
Lo llevo al mar para abordar un navío. Ay, morena, que a tu pecho ha de llegar. Ay, morena, mi llanto se cayó al río. Lagrimita viajera, morena vuelta a rocío, dale un beso en la frente al amor mío. Lagrimita viajera, vuelta a rocío. Al amor mío, ay sí, morena frágil capullo, convierte en mariposa los besos suyos.
My second piece is also a cueca in its traditional form, but I used strings for the accompaniment. In the traditional cueca, accompaniment is improvised, something similar to New Orleans music, where different instruments are improvising lines while the main melody is being sung or played. What I wrote for the strings is inspired in this concept.
Mi vida dicen que soy miserable, mi vida porque vivo en la pobreza, mi vida porque vivo en la pobreza, mi vida sabe de esfuerzo y trabajo, mi vida para mí es la mayor riqueza. Mi vida dicen que soy miserable. No quiero oro ni plata, dorada y gris, pues prefiero.
An important part of this project was to apply what I learned from the traditional cueca into a more open context. Using jazz influence, I made variations in the form and added soloing. This piece is called Cueca Sola, something like Lonely Cueca. It's inspired in a Pacific protest that occurred during the dictatorship of Pinochet in the 70s. This was a group of women outside the government palace dancing cueca alone with the picture of their disappeared relatives on their chest. Okay, so my historical research, I studied Anthony Dahl's theory of the whitening process, which now seems to be the most realistic analysis in terms of what happened with the Afro-Chileans, how they disappeared, and how the Chilean government created a more European descendant image for political purposes through this process of whitening, or Chilenización, which in this case would be synonyms. So the first Chilenización in the 19th century happened during the Guerra del Salitre, Saltpeter War. In 1887, the Afro-descendant community represented the 58% of the population in Arica, northern city of Chile. After the war, the sovereignty of Arica was going to be decided by plebiscite. This is because the city of Arica was Peruvian before this war. Xenophobic action by the Patriot Leagues started after the war in 1890s and continued until the 1920s. Nationalist groups related Afro-Chileans with Peruvian heritage, so they started persecuting them, killing them, and exiling them to Peru. The second process of Chilenización happened in 1970s during the Pinochet dictatorship. The government of Pinochet incorporated Cueca into military parades, taking it away from the working class and establishing it as a symbol of the dictatorship. Cueca was now a salon dance, an example of European heritage in Chile, and the African heritage in Chile was completely hidden. As part of my research, I went to Arica during the break in December of 2019, and I had the privilege to meet some of the Afro-Chileans that are keeping their heritage alive. Like Marta Salgado, for example, who started the NGO Oro Negro, focused on representing the Afro-Chileans. Through this NGO, they got recognized in 2019 as a tribal community. I also saw Tumbe percussion groups called Comparsas in the Festival Negro or Black Festival. Tumbe is what you just heard in the video. Tumbe was rebuilt in 2003 thanks to a research guided by Oro Negro. It was put together almost from scratch, based on stories of the elders. There were no signs of the music. It was totally erased. The style is mainly inspired in festejo, an Afro-Peruvian rhythm in 12/8. It has been a powerful tool for Afro-Chileans gaining visibility. My next piece is called The Resistance, which is inspired in what I learned in this trip about Tumbe and the history of the Afro-Chileans. So my last piece is called Cruces, Negras, and Lumbanga. Lumbanga was a neighborhood populated by Afro-Chileans in Arica. And in this video, I will show a testimony by an Afro-Chilean. Xenophobic patriot movements will mark their houses with black crosses, which meant they had to leave or otherwise they would be killed. This piece is a 12-bar cueca form, but it's played with a rubato feel. Usually cueca, as we heard before, has a groove you can dance to, but here I wanted to generate a vibe that evokes the situation I'm describing. I see this piece more like a jazz piece. It's mainly about improvisation, connecting mainly through jazz language with cueca elements. So, well, part of my goals are to use this presentation to help gaining visibility for the Afro-Chileans, presentations in schools or universities, and keep writing music influenced by jazz and Chilean folklore, and have live presentations where the musicians that work in this project come together. Well, special thanks to everyone that helped putting this project together: Danilo, Patricia, Marco, Bruno, Leo, thank you so much. And the musicians: Greg Loveman, Cavi, Brian Urra, Steven Beath, Thomas Gavins, Gonzalo Gomez, and Camilo Liaga. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Juan, for your presentation. And now we are opening up for comments and questions. And we're going to start with your panelist, Leo. If you have any comment or question for Juan.
Well, I have to say that I'm very proud of the work that Juan has been done during this time, because he's bringing a subject that is very needed to be aware of, which is many people still think that there were no Black people in the south part of South America. And you know, tango is very well appreciated because its elegance and sexiness of the dance in Europe. The French people love it, and very few people are aware that tango also comes from African diaspora and the influence of Africans in Argentina, which, by the way, there's very little Black people nowadays in Argentina. And part of that is what Juan talked about also in Chile and Peru. So I'm very proud of the job you did, Juan, and you know, being asking you those questions and comments during our meetings. And I just have to congratulate Juan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leo. And Bruno, you were one advisor, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, congratulations, Juan. It was a pleasure working with you this whole time. And I really learned so much from your research and everything. especially about the tradition of the African influence and how it was so oppressed in Chile and elsewhere. Well, you did a lot. You did a lot of research. You had, the difficult thing, I think, was to fit everything in these 20 minutes, because you had done a lot of research and had a lot of slides and pictures and images from a culture perspective. But I think you did really well to distill out the most important ones I put in here. But you did a lot of work on the research, and then you bloomed as a composer. Your music is very heartfelt, very deep, and it's moving. And we worked quite a bit on the compositional aspects, and especially the arrangements you did for strings,
Yes.
which you hadn't done before. So we worked on that together. And your beautiful, very warm drumming should be mentioned. That sort of underpins everything. There was some other recordings you played me that was also great, and that we didn't fit in here, obviously. So yeah, I'm just very proud of you, and get it out there, because as Leo was saying too, like there's so much that needs to be uncovered about the history, and the way you do it is great. So please get it out there. And thank you for this time. Congratulations.
Amazing.
Okay, Juan, I have a couple of words too. I think that, I want to point out the fact that all of this project and this music was done, in this period of lockdown, and in a way, the adversity that your class experienced was really a curveball that nobody expected. So I think it's really inspiring to see how much all of you are still presenting amazing project, beautiful music, and it did not in any way interfere with the depths of your research. I guess what I'm curious to know at this point, and we've been talking a lot about your project, is what kind of future you see yourself, now that you finish this, and is this project going to be part of something you're planning to pursue more as a composer or an advocate for this specific part of your history, music history? What kind of plans you have?
For me, it's been mainly that through this project, I was able to meet more folkloric musicians in Chile. That's it's been really opened my mind. I mean, here in Chile, I was mainly involved with the jazz scene, but now with these musicians that I worked with them, I mean, some of the Cuecas, because I'm singing in some of them, and some of these musicians are singing too. So I feel that I've learned so much, and I mean, the idea is that the trio that I recorded the Cuecas with, we want to keep going. Hopefully, writing music, and I would like to develop that, like a more folkloric line, and see where it takes me, because it's really, really powerful for me.
I was wondering, with all the research you did, do you plan to maybe do some publication or some presentation regarding the specific point of view of that would be something that I think you should pursue?
Yes. I mean, totally, because that was a big part of when I went to Arica, that there's like this thing. I mean, they're really fighting for recognition. They were recognized like 2 years ago. So, and they're still like asking for having more visibility. And I think that showing showing this presentation can help, and also to give like an idea of how they put the music together and everything. And yeah, it's important.
Well, congratulations, Juan. Any other faculty would like to comment or a question? Yes, Nadia, go ahead.
Hi, Juan. How are you?
Nice to see you, Nadia.
Good to see you too. So I am so excited to comment because I come from a very special angle as I was a part of the same ensemble you were in.
Yes.
And I just must say, it's truly inspiring to see your development as a writer, like backing up with what Bruno said. Like I remember your first tune that you presented to us all semester was Resistance. That tune at the end, it was Resistance. I remember singing that. And I just would like to congratulate you on the patience you had on yourself to like really develop your writing and also integrate your cultural history. It's truly inspiring. And I would love for you to share, if you'd like, what you feel comfortable with, but share what that development was like for you, your inner dialogue, what that development was like for you. It was like our last time together, you finally brought in a song. It was our last few weeks we had but now you have this whole album. So I'd love to know what your thoughts are about, your whole progress.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the main thing is that before Global, I've never written music before. I mean, I've just made arrangements or harmonizing things, like something like that. But for me, it was very powerful. I felt like I kind of unblocked that, and I felt it was before, because it was like you have to do it, like you don't have options. So I'm very grateful for that, and it's been amazing. Like the whole process of I started just writing little melodies and like simple tunes, and with Bruno in the process, like getting into writing some strings and his advising and everything. It was like really opened my mind as not only as a writer, also as a drummer. It's the way that I deal with music now. I feel that has changed a lot, and for me, it's great that it's not only the compositional part. It's just that I've never in my life turned so much towards my own culture, towards what happened here, and all of that. I feel that gives me more. I don't know. It's like I feel more conscious about my culture and how it works and why it's like this, and that's been great.
Thank you. Fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadia. Thank you for those questions.
Thank you, Nadia.
Marco, if I have a second, I'd like to congratulate Juan.
Oh, yes. Go ahead, Patricia.
Juan, congratulations. And I hope this is the beginning of a very wonderful journey in Chilean music and folkloric music. And I'm looking forward to listening to that journey. And viva Chile mierda.
Eso. Qué bien. Gracias, Patricia.
Could I jump in with a comment, Marco?
Sure, please.
Yeah. Juan, this is my introduction to your music. I've heard you as a collaborator on some other projects, which you did beautifully on, and it's great to hear your writing and playing. I learned a lot from this. It's a subject that's really interesting to me. I'm very interested in the African diaspora in the Americas and broadening perspective outside of the United States and North America, and I really learned something about the music and culture and history from this, and I want to learn more. I would love to have more references for digging into this further, and to know more, to hear all of the music and know who's playing on what tracks and all of that, in more detail. I'm really impressed. I don't know how new this was to you, but that you wrote lyrics in these styles and sang what sounds to me very confidently and believable. You're singing, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Is this something you've done a lot before?
I mean, I really like singing, but never like in public. It's just for parties, things like that. But
you did it. It sounds good to me. I'm not an expert. I'm a beginner. I'm being introduced to this music. And Chile is someplace I really want to go. I've never been closer than Lima, Peru. So I'm not familiar with it yet, but I really want to learn more about it. And so you inspire. I want to tell you, like, as a newcomer to this music, I know this exists. I know these. I'm interested in these little swing and unevennesses that exist from Mexico to Argentina to Chile, and in different styles of music, and the way that music isn't quite the way it's notated mathematically. These are all like really interesting things to me that I want to explore more, having studied West African music and jazz. And so it's really important stuff, and it's great. I thought it was extremely concise and well presented, very clear. But it did leave me wanting more resources. So I don't know if there's a page at the end. It went by kind of fast. But if you could add, how we get more information on this, that would be really great. So.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay.
I would like to.
I want you to know that some of us are super interested in what you just said. It's like it was like peeking into a book and going like, oh my God, we need to know more about this. So, thank you. Great and beautiful music. I mean, that's a very important thing I should highlight more, is the melodically, the recording, the playing, all the feels, they sound great. So nice work.
Juan is being particularly modest about his voice. It's not actually total true what he said, because you sang in the Dominican Republic, remember? And we discover how beautifully, he does that. It's definitely something that adds to what he brings as a musician. Go ahead, Bruno.
Yeah, can I just insert? Juan, we talked about also finding direct connections in the Cueca and Tumba to African music.
Yes.
Which you tried to find, but you weren't really able to, because it's nothing as obvious as like the Agbekor bell pattern that pops up in many other places, for example. So can you tell us something about that, what you looked into and what you found? Because I know you started defining things, but yeah.
Yes. For me, it was mainly that, I got together with some people that has done research about this, and they showed me some audio examples that they thought that kind of made sense of like something previous to Cueca, but it's nothing like that I could say that it's like, yes, actually I can hear clearly the Cueca elements here. Mm-hmm. But most of these audios were mainly from West Africa, which the historians that I've studied also say that it's mainly Angola and El Congo, those places that those slaves came, the slaves that were in Chile mainly came from there. But yeah, the complicated thing for me is that probably the most how do you say it? Like the mainstream theory is that it comes from Samacueca, but this other historian that I talked about, that it's Benjamin Vicuña Maquena, he says that it's mainly floating population that brought this influence directly to Valparaíso, and also the slaves that came crossing the Andes, which for me was like really a different thing. And he was saying that those slaves that came from there probably were also from other places of Africa. And that's because the main thing is that everyone says that Cueca comes from Samacueca, which is a Peruvian style, but for me, Cueca is so much more complex in terms of rhythm. It's more syncopated, and I've never been able to really understand why it's so syncopated and complex. But there's still something that it's not entirely clear.
Yeah, thank you.
If I can say something, I think it was very important that you, Juan, didn't just stay with one version of musicologist, but you also found it different, because we say usually that the influence of Africa has been forgotten in the south of South America, but it's not. It's maybe forgotten after it was being hidden on purpose, right? Carlos Vega, who you quote, he's an important musicologist, but he's also well known by his theory kind of taking away a little bit of the contribution of Africa directly. Which is atrocious. But it's interesting that you quote him, but you also went into other sources that contradict Carlos Vega, because he's very well known of taking, giving more predominance to the influence of Spain and Europe, which is certainly we have in South America. But the richness of South American music, it has to do because of the African component of it mixed, and it's very present in many places of South America, and it's being hidden and forgotten in the south of South America. So I think it was very important that you didn't went one with what version, but presented both of them.
I have to mention this. I've talked to Juan about this before. When I was 20 years old, I came to Stockholm from the country, and one of the first, I played with all sorts of different fusion, jazz, all sorts of stuff, but one of the first things I played with was a Chilean political refugee, because I came to Stockholm in 1974, and the coup happened in 73. So I played bass with him and some other Chilean musicians, and yeah, I loved it, and I found out about the history from them. I remember that. So anyway, I want to insert that.
Cool.
Juan, congratulations! Tremendous work. The way you deliver it, the way it was presented. I saw you throughout the year put so much energy and love into this, really showcasing and reminding us on the importance of the work that we do and everything that we're doing around what global jazz means, which the global jazz that we're talking about is inclusive because the experience of music is universal. So that idea that we define global jazz as welcoming of different nationalities, indigenous instruments, folkloric music combined with jazz as the anchoring foundation, you just nailed it. What a great testimony to the work that we are doing and the opportunities that we are providing at Global. So you are not holding yourself accountable, but you're holding us accountable to say, this is a global jazz master program. This is what I mean by that. So that's beautiful. Thank you for reminding us. And to be honest, there's so much in there. In other words, don't forget this project. This could be the title of your life, because what Leo was talking about, you think in terms of visa royalty in Peru, for example, you had Chile, Bolivia, Colombia, Ecuador, Argentina. You see? But then also you have to connect this, and I'm gonna be a little proud about that. You have to connect this to Panama, because that's where the slaves were going through. You see what I mean? So what I would do if I was you, I would set up a serious research about go from Panama to Colombia to Ecuador and do the journey that way. Because all those rhythms that you were playing, you're gonna find it in Panama. It's just the abacuá is an important element that people don't talk about it, but it is in this music, and this is connected to something called the samba antigua too, which is a Spanish dance, and it existed in the 16th century, and then the later addition of the word abacuá, basically in African music called kikongo. So it's with the cajon and the wooden drum. So you just awaken a lot of conversation here. You called what you did was a UN call to the slave trade in Americas, and for the final discussion to really talk about because the slave came to Latin America first before they came to the United States. So that's what you're saying here. And we all have, in order to create a united Pan-African vision of what jazz is in the 21st century, we must not leave this history out. And you put Chile on the map. And what I love is what Alan says, like, oh, I want to go to Chile. I want to check it out. All he's going to remind himself is that we are much closer than what is being seen to believe. That's what's going to happen. He's going to go, oh my gosh, this is a lot closer to Sun Ra than I thought. we have been trapped. So thank you for this wonderful reminder, and continue. The one advice I will tell you musically is that for a lot of the ways that you can introduce this, when I start approaching things like this, and I know Leo did too, you take the traditional folk music of the drum, of the percussion, and completely copy it on the drums. This will be a very much helpful to define, like when there was one example specifically. And then also take the older sounds of those percussions, record it that way, and play your drums on top.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Try to tune into the tuning. The way they tune things are more flat than the way people play nowadays. That's happened with swing too and jazz. But beside that, I'm so impressed. What a great testament to the work that we all putting into in this. That in a Saturday, to come in a Saturday to hear a CE, and you laying it down this way. Hey, come more Saturdays. More Saturdays. We want more Saturdays like this.
It's Friday, Danilo.
Oh, it's Friday.
Yes.
Oh,
you're a day ahead of us.
Oh, okay, whatever.
That's how good the presentation was.
That's right. That's right.
It was for the weekend.
Oh my God, Marco.
It's like Saturday.
Marco, thank you. Wow, I was gone in another day. Okay.
Okay, Juan, do you have any final comments for the board, the panel?
Mainly that I'm very, very thankful of this whole process. It's so nice to finish like this with all these kind words and your interest in the project. So I'm just very, very grateful for all these 2 years now.
2 years, yeah.
It's been amazing. Thank you so much to everyone. Marco, Danilo, Bruno, Leo, Patricia, everyone. You've been amazing. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Juan. Very, very proud of you.